What is up, bros? Josh here. Today's video is all about the currently work in progress Tier 9 Polish destroyer. Now, I believe it's technically a Dutch destroyer, but in-game it's labeled as the Polish Nation, along with the Tier 7 Błyskawica. But it's a Tier 9 destroyer, and it is quite unique and quite interesting to play. However, in this video, we'll go over captain builds, modules I use, as well as show some gameplay in this currently work in progress phase of the ship. One of the main things I get when doing videos on ships like this is how will it be available, and actually this is timed pretty perfectly because World of Warships just today announced how the ship will be available, and they announced that it will be a free XP. This is going to be the first free XP destroyer. We've had battleships and cruisers in the past, and as you've all known and now you've all watched, the price of those ships have increased over time. Now, how much will the destroyer cost? That's something I do not know, and I also do not know when this ship will be available. Since it's still a work in progress phase, I assume it'll be a little while, and since the Alaska really isn't that old as being a free XP ship, so probably a bit of time still before this is available, but we do know it will be a free XP. However, we do not know the amount nor the date it will be available. So let's dive into my captain build as well as modules I used while playing this ship and some ideas of what I might change in the future going forward, because it will affect some of the values down below. The captain build I did use was pretty basic for most destroyer builds that I run, and it's the first 10 points obviously is the standard priority target, last stand, survivability expert, and concealment expert. Want to get as stealthy as possible, get a little bit extra life, and obviously last stand is amazing. After that, I did pick up radio location. You'll see that in game. However, I might change this in the future. Picked up BFT because we want to buff those guns, and adrenaline rush is something I want to pick up here. Now you can see torpedo armament and torpedo loader are not available. There's going to be a reason why. However, with the modules, and this is I ran fully upgraded, so the ship comes with normal repair, smokes. This is USN smoke. AA, which is very good, and then sonar, which is pretty decent. It's the German style sonar, so long range but shorter duration of 5 kilometers. Took the premium versions and all that, and then I took obviously aiming mod 1, propulsion. I took again the aiming system, want to get those as accurate as possible. Steering gears, because this is kind of a tall chunky boy of a ship. And concealment, again, getting as that. And then I ended up going with fire control system mod 2, so gaining a little bit more range. Now, looking at the stats itself, hit points 20,000. This is kind of on, I would say, almost the lower end. Well, it seems like it should be higher with the type of ship this is. It's relatively big. As I said, it's pretty chunky, comparing it to like the Fletcher. The Fletcher is much thinner, and there's a couple other ships that are kind of like that, but this ship is pretty, I would say, pretty big and pretty chunky, and you will notice you will take more damage because you just seem to be higher setting in the water, as well as just a bit wider. So a little bit extra carbs, but it does have some cool stuff. Main battery. Now this is the thing that this ship has and kind of makes it stand out. And as you see, 2 sets of 2, one in the front, one in the back, as you can see right here and right there. But look at that reload. The fastest reload in the game currently, reload 1.6 seconds. So this is something that I kind of talked about of the captain skills and modules I might change up. So there's a couple things you could potentially add. Get rid of radio location, which I'm thinking about, and picking up AFT, and then dropping the module here and actually bumping up the reload a little bit more with main battery, get it down to about 1.4. Then with adrenaline rush, obviously you get down to 1.2 and some change, something like that. Kind of crazy. But what I'm running right here is 1.6, 120 millimeters. So you will see that I'm not running inertia fuse. Usually when it gets relatively small, as we see with the USN, they are 127s. This is 120s. A lot of people are asking, hey, are you running inertia fuse? I'm actually not, because it's going to have the base pen of 20 millimeters, well, 19 millimeters. And then what's going to end up having is once you take inertia fuse, it gets to about 25. It's just, in my opinion, not really worth it. So without taking an inertia fuse, you can add in some extra things and kind of build a nice little, build with it. Now, it does have an 8% fire chance, so even potentially some demo expert action going on. I might play around with some more builds. We're going to play this all live on twitch.tv/mejosh. Come check us out. So I may try to do maybe a full flamethrower build and kind of mess around with a little bit more builds, but just want to show you the build I'm running for this for the first preview. Main armament, main battery firing range, 14.3. Now, you may think that's a lot, but you actually, without the extra boost, you're going to be in the 12-kilometer range because you don't really have many other tools, like you don't have, as you see, torpedoes to protect you. You kind of want to get a little bit of a buffer. Now, the travel time at 14.3 kilometers is pretty long, 10, 12, seconds of air time. But since you're going to be aiming more towards battleships and some bigger cruisers, it is very doable. It takes a little while to get used to, but it's very doable. But again, we might play up with some different builds at a later stream and see what also kind of works. So yes, no torpedoes. The first DD really without torpedoes and all guns. Kind of an interesting play style, and you will definitely play. There are some times where you wish you had torpedoes. And you kind of wish you would play a different, get into a spot where you could get some torpedoes, but you just don't have them. So you have to play very smart and very different. It's kind of weird, and it's kind of almost more relaxing to not have to worry about getting torps out. You just worry about purely guns, but you tend to avoid caps a little bit more. At least that's what I kind of noticed, because also your detection is quite high. AA though on this, really we only have BFT. You could stack this up crazy high, and the AA absolutely shreds planes, as you'll see throughout this game. The AA is quite good, one of the highest of DDs. Maximum speed 36 knots. I wish you had speed boost on this, but you just don't. But 36 knots, you're going to be in the middle of the pack. Again, I don't know why I'm comparing it to the Fletcher so much, but basically the Fletcher's speed. You could obviously boost it up. I'm only using the detonation flag, so there are some things you could also change here for the values. Could get more fire chance, could get faster speed, but I always just show the ship without any extra flags on. Maneuverability though, 620. It felt pretty decent when you were playing, but one of the downsides is 6.4 kilometers. That's quite high. Comparing it to something like the Urloy 8 point. It's not quite a Russian destroyer. 7.6, but you are basically going to get outspotted by nearly everything else at this tier, so you have to play according to that. And again, you don't have torps to defend yourself. So with that detection, that's one of the reasons why I like radiolocation so much. Not so much for an offensive tool, but also for a defensive tool and being aware of your surroundings. So let's dive into some gameplay, show you what this ship can do and what it's capable of, especially when planes are in the sky. So here we are in game with the Friesland, and one of the things I will say, and you'll notice it right at the start, is this ship, when you first play it, does feel kind of awkward. And one of the main reasons is you don't have a normal tool that you're used to having, which is you don't have torps. You'll see me get into a situation where I kind of contest a cap and contest a position that I would feel much more safe and much more relaxed in if I was in a torp destroyer. This one, however, not so much. I only have my guns, so what I see is I kind of have to shoot to do damage to. So it does really take a bit of time to kind of get used to it. As you would see is, obviously we have radiolocation. I'd maybe go to the left or right here, kind of torp on the angle, and maybe get a torp hit on an incoming DD or something like that, or incoming cruiser. But really, I'm not able to do that. So you have to really plan your positioning a lot more with this ship, because you need to be in areas and need to learn to use maybe corners of islands, other stuff like that, to kind of focus more on doing damage, because with your guns, it's all gun focused. So it's kind of it's definitely a unique destroyer, but it does take a little while to get used to. And you'll see me, this was maybe the 7th or 8th game I had played in this ship, and I was still getting used to it, because here I would have dumped torps 100% on that point, and we probably would have got a hit, because as you see, there's probably a DE over there. Also, one of the things, you get put into kind of an awkward situation here of not having the detection to outspot stuff. So as we look and compare these, Fletcher, Lightning, Mahan, I do out detect a Mahan, but that's tier 9 barely out detecting the tier 7, but the other two completely out detect me. And as you'll see right here in just a second, you'll see what torps could have potentially had as potentially a Fletcher kill right there. So there are some, that is definitely one of the weaknesses of this. You will also see some damage I take in a little bit, just because the ship is shaped like this, but still, this thing is pretty nasty. And you'll see me when I kind of rotate away from this spot, because this ship doesn't really do very well in the kind of stalemate-esque playstyle that I'm kind of in right now. There's a Dawn Score there, there's a Fletcher there, Fletcher out detects me, he has backup, all this kind of stuff. It does take a little while. Also, this isn't my highest damage game with this ship so far. It just shows this is a role-specific ship. And what I mean by that is this ship is built to be an anti-aircraft support destroyer. That is the role of this ship. This thing is going to be absolutely nutty when supporting something that's fairly stealthy. If you are potentially an IJN destroyer and you can spot for this, or something like a Jutland, And yes, as you see right here, the first thing you're going to want to do when you're playing this ship is go to Amazon or go to wherever and buy 3-4 mouses, because you are going to burn through them if you double click. So embrace, and you can't even really tell right now. It looks like I'm double clicking those. No, that's just how fast. That's me holding down the mouse. So you will be embracing the ripple fire life when it comes to this destroyer. And it is something you just got to kind of embrace, because if you are double clicking, you're going to burn through mice with this thing just because of how fast it shoots. And remember, 1.6 is what we have it set up right here, plus any kind of adrenaline rush. Also, shout out to everybody in Fang Zangster, also Sad Keenly, is that Sad Keanu? Is it Keanu Reeves Keanu? Shout out to you guys hanging out in the game. It was a good one. Yeah, but this one, you'll kind of see how this goes, and it's a lot of poking and prodding. Wargaming seems to be kind of on a I like the idea of Wargaming making a kind of role specific ship. I like that. I like unique play styles, which this really has. I like that kind of stuff. You know, we see a lot of things that are unique, but Wargaming seems to be on some kind of, as you see, it takes a little while for me to kind of get used to the ripple fire. I've always double clicked forever and always, and it really kind of takes a little while to get used to everything. But with this, you're going to be loud and proud and firing all the time, because if you find a DD2 that's within a short amount of range, you are going to obliterate them. The DPM on this thing is insane. But as I was saying earlier, a couple minutes ago, Wargaming seems to be on they want everything to spam fire. We're seeing things like the Smolensk, we're seeing things like the Colbert, now we're seeing things like the Friesland. They want you to be spamming, and they want, maybe Wargaming is going to start releasing some special mice or something. I don't know, that, hey, a new gamer mouse with the World of Warships on it, 200 IQ. I don't know. I feel like that's what they're going to be releasing, because people are going to be burning through these. But this is one where just embrace the double down on this. But I do like the idea of this ship, but this is something that I think might get lost with potentially not making a kind of an awkward ship, because without having torps, the guns have to be good. And when you make guns really good like this, they're going to end up just being annoying. Also, we're going against tier 8 CVs. This is something that's going to be pretty regular. And just watch how fast I obliterate these planes. So this is with the new AA. Obviously, yes, a lot of this is working out. Pop the AA consumable. Remember, I'm not spec'd into really anything. I have BFT. That's about it. Tier 8 CVs are going to... no chance. No freaking chance when it comes to this. You are just going to destroy any planes that come in. Now, tier 10s, obviously, you're going to have a little bit more life, but any tier 8s, you're a tier 9, so you're going to be going against plenty of tier 8 CVs. This is not something that's going to be out of the ordinary. I know a lot of people always in the comments going, oh, you're showing blah, 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 you're top tier, this and that, this and that. This tier 9s get top tiered plenty of times. They'll go against tier 10s with tier 8 CVs, so I feel like this is pretty safe. Now, something also in this Implacable, apparently he wanted to help out the video, because he just keeps feeding me planes this entire game, so shout out to him as well. He wanted to kill the new ship, but hey, I wanted to shoot down his plane, so it's kind of perfect. But yeah, you'll see how I'm kind of playing this, and I'm not really going towards caps, because if I go towards caps, I'm kind of putting myself into a disadvantage. It's early, they have lots of ships still, and really it's almost a disadvantage for me to go trade life early, because and put myself at risk of taking a torp. Now, I'm fairly agile. I have hydro, but it's kind of short duration, long range. And I have the ability to kind of work some stuff down, obviously, if I spot the lightning or something like that. But you put yourself into a lot of danger already. Over 20 planes, by the way. And so you'll kind of see that. But again, too, we aren't running inertia fuse. I might do some more tests on that to see if it shows kind of an impact. But the math, just the quick math, doesn't really show much of a better outcome. We were about... Now, it wasn't crazy low, as you see, even against a Vladi. We're getting okay pen. It's nothing too crazy, but you just shoot so fast. So it's just death by 1,000 cuts. So I'm not sure if inertia fuse. I will do a couple tests just to see, but we were about 50-50 with pen, non-pen. But you're going to get that kind of thing a lot with ships like this with such low caliber. Not quite, you know, the 100mm, which really kind of just needs inertia fuse to do any type of damage against stuff like that. Also, something that we did kind of run out of was the consumables, and as you can see, you probably see the writing on the wall. We don't win this game, but still kind of shows off the strength of this ship, and you'll see me kind of have some fun with this CV. But yeah, this game is kind of a bit one-sided, if you will. But yeah, still, team's kind of YOLOing, but we can have some fun, and you'll see the kind of impact on this. We had one game, too, where we held off an entire side. It was like me and I think it was me and a Georgia versus like 9 ships, and the Georgia kind of just tanked a bunch of damage, and I just the presence of having something, and that's something too I talked about with the Smolensk as well as the Colbert, was just having the entirety of a spamming ship, just the mental like the psychology of it is just going to push people away. Like, how does a battleship basically deal with it? Now, this is a Vladivostok, so it's, you know, the superstructure is almost non-existent, so it's extremely hard to kind of light this thing on fire. So if you're not hitting that small little area right there, it's really kind of hard to do it. Again, shout out to the CV. he didn't learn, and he wants to get me to 30 planes before the 10-minute mark. So there you go. He helped me out. Yeah, but still though, the damage seemed good against DDs. It was crazy high. The DPM, you may not see like the alpha damage as we see with something like the Summers. Is the alpha damage is actually quite good. You shoot out 8 shells per salvo. This one is just a lot of small hits. A lot of small hits. You're not going to get that big 4 or 5K salvo. You actually might be able to, maybe if you're close enough to a cruiser with AP. In a game, we were shredding a Buffalo for like 2-3K a salvo. It may not seem like a lot compared to other things, but you're shooting 2-3K or 1,500, 2,000 every 1.5 seconds. So it's not... what is it? Not the size of the salvo, it's how often it happens, if you want to use that kind of analogy. But the DPM on this is just second to none. You absolutely just murder everything in this if you get close enough. Again, shout out to this guy, man. Hey, there you go. Don't mess up a drop when you're going against this. So what do I see on this ship? I like the idea. I've always loved uniqueness. I've always talked about how I love uniqueness of ships. We see that plenty, and unique ships having a unique playstyle. I think that's awesome, but I'm not the biggest fan of just kind of just making these spammy ships. I feel like that's not really what we need as in the game, is more flame-throwing ships. However, this ship was quite fun and quite goofy. I could see it being annoying on the receiving end, and that's not really what you want in a ship. It's not going to be the easiest ship to play. This is going to be kind of hard for people to play because you have to really kind of think about where you're going, where you're going to be, and where the enemy is. So this is going to be something that is going to be quite, I would say, quite difficult to play. It's also going to be quite punishing for people who play it incorrectly, because the ship does take a lot of damage. It doesn't take full AP pens, but you're just so tall, and you're a chunky boy, and you're going to be taking a lot of extra AP salvos. Not full AP, but you're going to be taking lots of AP salvos just because you sit high. You're just a bigger target. So also, people pushing early in caps might be kind of a problem too. This is not going to be the easiest ship to play for a lot of people, because you can't lack... This is a perfect example too of, man, if you had torps right here, that Vladi's probably dead. If you have torps right here, the Iowa probably is without a repair. This could have definitely affected the game, but still, you'll see us crank out a whole bunch of damage as this continues to go. But if you can get into a spot where you farm, again, a perfect support destroyer, you could really... We're already at 43 planes. That's something too that'll probably get nerfed. Usually if something has too high of AA, especially in a DD role, it'll probably get toned down. Although we all love to shoot down planes. I mean, come on, who doesn't love to just absolutely get 40 some planes in a DD? Who doesn't love to get that? Wargaming will probably tone that down a little bit. We all can't have too much fun if we're shooting down too many CV planes. But still, I kind of enjoyed this ship. I love being an anti-AA platform. You can really, if you tie this up with another DD, you can really make a lot happen, and really just kind of do a lot of damage. You can punish poor play, but you kind of rely on a team not being super potato, because you do kind of lack what I would call carry ability. Now, what I mean by that is that's something that, let's just use the Fletcher. I've been using that comparison all this time. You could use the Fletcher, its torps and its guns and its low detection and stuff like that to make big plays. With this, not so much. You have your guns, and you have your guns, and you have your guns. That's all you have. So with that, you know, this Vladi, it's going to take a while to burn it down, and I'm going to have to basically get shot while doing it, so I put myself in danger. He probably would have been dead already if I was in a torp destroyer. And I think this kind of all or nothing playstyle, although quite fun if you know what you're doing, is really going to be just, I mean, how, I know a lot of people would like the Russian destroyers, but a lot of people just don't play the Russian DDs. Are not one of the most popular lines for a reason. They're not the easiest to play. You have to play them quite smart. So really, that will be one of the downsides of this ship. Although it is going to be quote-unquote free XP is going to be awesome. You could pick it up, but just imagine being in a Z46 here, or a Fletcher, or a Chungmu, or even a Kitakaze, something like that. This could be something that could be quite strong, or those could have been better in this situation. But this still, just an absolute beast of making. If you're juking those shots and these battleships, definitely notice that a lot too. Now, obviously, when we're playing the new ships, people tend to focus us a bit more. They want to kill the new ship syndrome. Definitely want that. But a lot of people, if you were smart on avoiding shells, they kind of just gave up on shooting at us. It was actually kind of funny, but that's only going to be for people that are kind of paying attention. There's the fire chance too. So we might still play along with some different builds, and what I mean by that is I might switch up and do a demo expert build, do a full gun build, which means drop, and as you see, I'm basically getting chunked over and over and over by these guys. We did test out the AP a little bit. The AP was pretty solid. You know, nothing too crazy, but it was definitely all right. As you see, we switched a little bit to AP, but the Vladi is such a bad example of a ship like shooting at it, because it's really just hard to hit. You do have those 120s, and the ability to kind of knock them out is kind of tough. And we're slowly making a comeback here, but just a little too late. Not really going to be able to do too much. And our Jean Bart will sadly die here. We just didn't quite have enough, and we'll slowly push into B, and you'll see us have some fun with CVs. But I really love the AA on this. It was amazing. Again, we weren't really spec'd into it, so you could even make this thing a better anti-AA cruiser, or cruiser, kind of, it is a cruiser. Better AA destroyer. Very, very, very dangerous, and could completely lock down an entirety of a great support ship. That's how this ship is being branded, basically, is being a support ship, being a role specific ship, and I'm okay with that. I like that. But when they do that, they kind of just have to buff up other things that maybe it's not so much that I don't like what they have to buff elsewhere, because what they're going to end up buffing is just making an HE spammer, and I don't know if that's really what we need. Is that the kind of fun DD that we need? Also, again, not going to be the best situation for people. Down goes our Jean Bart. Basically locks up the game for the red team, but still, we had fun. Implacable got the Otago. And I thought maybe we might have a chance here if, you know, maybe killed the Fletcher. The Missouri might be low, but you will see how not low the Missouri is in a second, which is always late game. It's always a bummer to see. Also, yeah, I think, do I look in a second? He finally gets me with planes as we switched over. And you're going to see us go in and get our Implacable. 100k damage. That's kind of the worst thing in the world when you need kills and you see basically a full life Missouri. You just kind of, all right, well, we tried, boys. Not much we can really do here, but 6k life left. Can I make it work? Can I keep going? Been a long game, but it's fun. It's a fun DD because it's so unique. You don't really get this play. People are trying to ask me to compare it to something, and what would I compare it to? Like a Kitakaze esque, like USS Kidd, maybe like that, where the torpedo tubes are knocked out, something like that, maybe. That's how I would kind of explain it. But if I really had to, that would be the easiest comparison. But there's nothing really comparable. There's nothing that doesn't have torps. There's nothing that kind of has this real rate of fire. You see, maybe the Kitakaze, something like that, that style line, the Akazuki, things like that. And again, continuing to like that. But nothing really with that rate of fire, and having the AA that this has, that's something else. But we're going to make our final stand here on B-Cap on Islands of Ice. We're going to switch over our AA to put all of the AA in between me and the CV and get a few more plane kills, and then try to take down this Implacable. He tried, man, he fed us planes. We'll take our 50 kills right there. And we did a little bit of testing here on the on Alpha HEAP on the ships, because they are smaller caliber. They definitely are. And he was kind of a rude boy. He wouldn't give us the broadside, which was a bit of a bummer. So we tested the AP as well. It seemed like AP on the 120 was going to be better until we got a better angle, which we'll get into just a second. We're obviously going to be faster than him. And I was hoping I just wouldn't get secondary. That would have been the bummer. That would kind of ruin the whole video. Fire chance, again, was good. We could have buffed it up with a couple flags, 2% just right there. So even without inertia fuse, and the upcoming inertia fuse change, this is going to be still pretty strong. You could technically get this to about 12% fire chance, but there might be some diminishing returns there with just how fast you can fire. You know, you're going to be spending, and where are the citadels? We find them in a second. There we go. There we go. We found them. So again, the Alpha is crazy. You know, pretty big damage, and it's just the DPM. So we tried, we held on, 153k, 57 plane kills, but in the end, that's all we could do. Still a fun game though, but just kind of wanted to show you, not so much in a crazy high damage game, but the flexibility and the role that this ship is supposed to play. Kind of just the best that you could potentially be. But look at those stats, not too bad. Still overall a fun ship. Again, we're gonna play with some more builds, so you might see a second video, but I don't think what we see right here will be the finalized ship. I think we might see a bit of a reload nerf, getting it down to, I mean, I think at the end probably there we were down to like 1.4. we probably see a little bit of a reload nerf, probably see a little bit of an AA nerf. But we might see something buff, maybe in its detection, maybe get it down to 6.2, who knows, maybe make it a bit more competitive, but losing some of its aggression elsewhere. But I don't think we're going to be seeing torps. I don't think we're going to be seeing kind of anything else other than a kind of a spammy play style. But I think what we'll see is, well, right here, but they're definitely going to change some values, but still a pretty fun ship. Again, if you guys missed it, this will be available for free XP, no set date, no set value. I doubt it'll be the million. We'll probably see maybe a price of 750,000, but again, I just don't know. We'll wait, and I'll let you guys know whenever I hear anything about that. But a tier 9, technically Dutch, but labeled as a Polish destroyer. Currently work in progress, so all these stats are subject to change, but the Friesland, a lot of fun, pretty interesting, pretty interesting ship, definitely unique. But anyways, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.